Good evening, this is Key Beeper. This is the first of the playthrough series. I've chosen to play through Dear Esther, a game I have not played yet, which I'd like to share with you. I've heard a lot of good things about it. Let's see what it's actually like.
Dear Esther, I have lost track of how long I have been here, and how many visits I have made overall. Certainly the landmarks are now so familiar to me that I have to remind myself to actually see the forms and shapes in front of me. I could stumble blind across these rocks, the edges of these precipices, without fear of missing my step and plummeting down to sea. Besides, I have always considered that if one is to fall, it is critical to keep one's eyes firmly open.
Well, certainly this is very pretty. The sound, the wind, the music. It's quite the atmosphere. The absence of any HUD makes it curious. Oh, I have a flashlight. Flashlights are nice. Now, normally this kind of environment, I'd be freaking out a little bit. I am not a fan, generally, of horror games. So even this is freaking me out a little bit. But I'm reminding myself that it's likely just the wind I'm hearing. Some sort of chemical formula. Alright, let's zoom in and explore a little bit further. Just the wind, it's just the wind. Up or down? I'm going down first. Oh. Right, it's a lighthouse. I wonder if I can go up. Wonder how I'd access the lighthouse. Can't jump. So... Oh, I see. Stairs are broken. Alright. That explains that. I wonder if there's a day-night cycle here. Or if this is sort of some frozen, captured moment in time. Now, whereas that sort of creepy interior is not to my liking at all, I absolutely adore rocky beaches like this. I could sit here all day. And look at the detail on those rocks. Those are lovingly rendered. Give my feet a little bath. Look at the driftwood. Ooh, spooky rock. And new musical theme to accompany it.
When you were born, your mother told me, a hush fell over the delivery room. A great red birthmark covered the left side of your face. No one knew what to say, so you cried to fill the vacuum. I always admired you for that you cried to fill whatever vacuum you found. I began to manufacture vacuums just to enable you to deploy your talent. The birthmark faded by the time you were 6 and had gone completely by the time we met, but your fascination with the empty and its cure remained.
Huh. That's interesting. I'm going to continue on my leftward trek. Great sea stacks and the haunting wind that accompanies them. Well, would you look at that? A golden ratio, I think. Yeah, it's a golden ratio. What's it? Is it oriented like that for a reason? Marking west. South. I'm not sure what time of day it is. Or what's north and south.
I have found the ship's manifest, crumpled and waterlogged under a stash of paint cans. It tells me that along with this present cargo, there was a large quantity of antacid yogurt bound for the European market. It must have washed out to sea. God knows there are no longer gulls or goats here to eat it.
Tires. More markings. And a cliff that I can't climb. Northeast. No, don't drown. Don't drown. I can't swim. At least I don't know how to swim in this game. So it seems like I reached the end of the line going left. So I'll retrace my steps and take the next option. Which is this pretty little wooden staircase with wildflowers growing between the risers. It's funny. I love these kinds of places in real life, but in video games they always feel more creepy. Alright, so the right there's a cliff, so I continue going left. Barbed wire fence. Broken barbed wire fence. And a flashing...
Donnelly's book had not been taken out from the library since 1974. I decided it would never be missed as I slipped it under my coat and avoided the librarian's gaze on the way out. If the subject matter is obscure, the writer's literary style is even more so. It is not the text of a stable or trustworthy reporter. Perhaps it is fitting that my only companion in these last days should be a stolen book written by a dying man.
These are really disjointed vignettes. Unless I'm going about this completely wrong. Disjointed vignettes, disjointed fence, and a flashing red light in the distance.
When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath. You could see them from the mainland or a fishing boat, and know to send aid, or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this. Keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
Wonderful, now we're talking about an infection. So those are clearly the white lines. Just telling you now, if something jumps out at me, this game is over. Cut lines in the rock with what? When someone was dying, they cut lines. That implies a single person cutting lines in the cliff. Those are some pretty big lines, quote unquote. Interesting formation there. Almost looks like cairns of some sort. And now this sound is getting weird. Wait a sec. Left or right? Always go left.
I quote directly, a motley lot with little to recommend. I have now spent 3 days in their company. That is, I fear, enough for any man not born amongst them. Despite their tedious inclination to quote scripture, they seem to me the most godforsaken of all the inhabitants of the Outer Isles. Indeed, in this case, the very gravity of that term, forsaken by God, seems to find its very apex. It appears to me that Donnelly, too, found those who wander this shoreline to be adrift from any chance of redemption. Did he include himself in that, I wonder?
So apparently we're all infected and God-forsaken. This is sounding promising. And I see a shipwreck. Alright, so I could understand God-forsaken with reference to a shipwreck. That I get. But how does infected fit into that? Infected survivors of a shipwreck.
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life.
Infected survivors of a shipwreck who've passed beyond the boundaries of life. Okay. Keeps getting worse and worse. Well, this looks like a drop. I'm not going to be able to jump up again. Tally-ho! Yep, I was right. Why am I hearing my heartbeat now? Or is that just the music? Definitely hearing radio chatter. That's weird. But I must continue with my leftward journey. Up the stream bed. Alright, there are those plinths I saw before. Looks almost like a graveyard. Again, very creepy. And I need to walk through them. Or around them. Is this where the arrow was before? It looks so. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know why, but these stones give me the creeps. Continuing left. Wind in the rocks. Wind in the rocks. Anything to jump at from above. Or behind. Or the front. Oh, down I go.